GLC is now offering a free audio stream of our 24/7 broadcast that we're calling GLC Radio, an online radio station that broadcasts our round-the-clock audio stream on a variety of platforms. GLC Radio gives you the ability to listen to GLC virtually anywhere, through your home or office computer, or on the go with a mobile device. You can access GLC Radio through our website or by searching for God's Learning Channel through iTunes Internet Radio, TuneInRadio.com, or on Shoutcast.com. Explore various GLC Radio-enabled mobile apps by visiting our website at glc.us.com/listen/GLC Radio. GLC Radio, your free connection to GLC anywhere, anytime.
Well, welcome to the Weekend Update, and I hope you have enjoyed the programs that's been on GLC this week on lots.
I think we had 3 brand new lots this week.
They were good.
Oh, thank you.
And
we had some really great guests.
well, you
Absolutely.
had Barry. I just
Sure did.
Okay, well, that brings us to the weekend lineup.
Yeah.
So people can see what's going on. Speaking of Barry, that will be airing tonight at 8 p.m.
Watch it.
and Sunday morning, very early at 5 a.m. Basically what this is it's a follow-up, in a way, to his visit with us in February. Okay, I want to share something with you. Barry was very clear on that program, at least to me. He was very clear that with all of the people that they are taking back to Israel, because they are in 17 countries, pulling people out of 17 countries. And in 1 month right now, the last month was 553 out of the Ukraine alone. Each one of those people cost an average of $500 to get them out. Mm-hmm. And what Barry told us, and you start calculating the numbers in your head, what Barry told us was that 60% of Ezra's income comes from our audience.
Wow.
Get the people out of there.
Bless your heart.
Our audience gives 60% to them. But one of the things that he did at the end of the program, and I think people might have gotten a little bit confused on this, because we got a check in the mail this morning that was made to us, but down on the memo line it said Ezra, and make sure it goes to Ezra.
Ah.
Well, the office has to return that because we don't accept funds for Ezra.
Right.
And so that, if you're watching, that check will be going back to you. But what Barry was trying to explain was he realizes the financial crunch that GLC is in at this moment. And he's like, if GLC goes away, we've just lost 60% of our income. So
Ezra does.
Ezra does. And he says that can't happen. So he asked Ezra donors, so instead of sending your monthly May donation to Ezra, please give it to GLC.
Well, and
If you have to
that
make a
was about.
choice between the two, send it to GLC. He said it'd be great if you could send it to both of us, but if you can't, send it to GLC, because he understands. He understands where we're at, and he understands how much help the viewing audience of GLC has been to Ezra International. And
amen.
it's made a huge impact on getting Jewish people home.
The news is not covering anything about the Ukraine,
No.
but especially Jewish people are really suffering over there. There is a full-fledged war going on.
But you don't get that
You
over
don't
here.
hear it.
Well, you hear it on our shows,
Yeah.
So, that's what GLC is about. We're about bringing the truth.
Do you want to tell the rest of the weekend lineup?
Yeah, I guess so, since I just got really sidetracked. Sorry about that. Oh, my goodness. The first hour, Pastor Gatana. The second hour, Dr. Rebecca Thomas. Gatana is an Ethiopian who is now a U.S. citizen, and he suffered under religious persecution in Ethiopia. We scheduled to record this program while he was in Africa. He came home, and there was horrendous things going on while he was there. But he came home, and the day before we were to record, 30 Ethiopians were slaughtered. 15 with their heads cut off and 15 shot in the head. It was a very difficult program for Pastor Gatana to do. But he's like, Amy, the church must wake up. So if you didn't see that, you've got to see that. And of course, Dr. Rebecca Thomas, the iridologist, is a completely different thing. But if you haven't seen that, she's talking about how to combat viruses and bacteria. Anyway, that will be early tomorrow morning, Saturday at 5 a.m., Saturday night at 8 p.m., Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m., and Monday at 1 a.m. And then Sandra Barris and Margie Pesdertz, first hour. Second hour, Dr. Roy Blizzard. Oh, my goodness, 2 amazing programs. Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m., Sunday morning very early at 1 a.m., Sunday night at 8 p.m., and Monday as you're getting ready to go back to work at 7 a.m. Boy, if you miss that, you've got to see it. And then Sunday at 1 a.m. and Monday at 2 p.m., we have Gary and Carolyn Bird, first hour, and then Ari Abramowitz, the second hour. That was a great program.
It was.
Those were both great programs. So you know what? You got a lot of TV watching to do this weekend.
Yeah. And something else I want to bring to you in this opening before we start our articles. The Pastor Protection Bill has been moved to Monday. Yesterday, the Senate State Affairs Committee.
Now, is that here in Texas?
It is in Texas.
Okay.
Unexpectedly did not have a hearing on the Pastor Protection Bill, SB 2065 by Senator Craig Estes. SB 2065 has been rescheduled to be heard on Monday, May the 4th at 9 a.m. in the Senate chamber. And we need as many pastors as possible to come to Austin and stand for religious freedom in Texas. It says, please arrive early and meet us at 8 a.m. on the first floor of Capitol Rotunda. SB 2065, identical to the version of the House Bill 3567 by Representative Scott Sanford, heard in House State Affairs Committee last week, ensures that the government cannot force a pastor, clergy member, or church to perform a marriage that would violate their sincerely held religious beliefs. Oral arguments at the U.S. Supreme Court on the same-sex marriage case this week revealed that pastors may not be protected if states are forced to redefine marriage. With a very short window of time, we must do everything we can to protect the religious freedom rights of Texas pastors and churches. This is your opportunity to get involved for such a time as this. We need pastors and church members to contact their state senator to ask them to co-sponsor SB 2065, and we need your presence at the Capitol. If you're a pastor and can come to Austin to stand for you or your congregation's religious freedoms, you can contact Texas Values at 512-478-2220. And I think we also have a...
or Jay Signs at texasvaluesactions.org.
And they will guide you
And we
through the
do
process.
have a link. They're asking
senators.
everyone to contact our state senators, and that link is on the screen.
Okay.
So there
Very
you
good.
go.
All right.
And that's an easy thing to do because all you do is you go there and you put
Click
in
on.
that you're from Texas, and it will list who you need to be contacting.
That's right.
So Dad has a letter, but if you didn't hear it in Mom's voice, they're both fighting some kind of crud. So I'm trying not to get too near to them today.
I'm hoping to graduate from it after 3 weeks.
Anyway, Dad's asked me to read his letter, so I'm going to be doing that for you. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Cooper and Amy Cooper, thank you for sending me And Still They Come by Barry Wagner. I have been praying since March where I should send my tithes and offerings. I have the answer now. Included in this envelope is my check, which represents March and April 2015. This check is for GLC. What spoke to me was Amy telling Mr. Wagner that she cannot allow any teaching on GLC that she believes to be wrong. even though by allowing some people-pleasing messages, GLC would be much better off monetarily. Bless your heart. I'm about to cry. I have grown to really appreciate GLC's conscientiousness about the Word of God. I will alternate my tithes between Ezra International and GLC. I know that what is of God, He will support and provide for. I also know that you believe this and know this. It is a blessing that you do not have constant fundraisers. Sincerely, Julie in Lubbock. Oh my gosh, Julie. Okay,
She got it.
You got it. Okay, I will tell you that we are having a fundraiser. Normally we have a spring and a fall roundup. That's where we round up our partners. And I'm just going to tell you, God has been so on the move in this for the past, I would say, week and a half. And it just all started falling together. It's all going to happen beginning May 11th. It'll begin at 7 p.m. and run to 10 p.m. Central Time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night. You won't believe the people that we've got coming in. And I am so excited. And for weeks, I knew we had to do Roundup for months, But for weeks, I've been praying, Father, what do you want the theme to be? And He finally gave it to me 2 mornings ago. Lukewarm or fire hot. So prepare to be amazed by a bunch of people who really love the Lord and who really believe in GLC, because we will not compromise.
That's right.
Amen.
So thank you, Julie. Oh my goodness. I think I'm going to frame that one and put it on my wall.
Okay, you can do that.
Yay. Okay, this first article comes to us from the Gatestone Institute. Wow, Barcelona, Spain's would-be beheaders. Police in the northeastern Spanish region of Catalonia have arrested 11 members of a jihadist cell that was planning to behead a random person in Barcelona. The cell, which prosecutors say was actively recruiting jihadists for the Islamic State, is also accused of planning to bomb public and private buildings in Catalonia, including a Jewish bookstore in Barcelona. Potential targets included police and military installations, as well as the Catalan Parliament building.
The arrests have drawn renewed attention to the spiraling problem of radical Islam in Catalonia, which has one of the largest per capita Muslim populations in Europe. Catalonia also has the largest concentration of radical Islamists in Europe and is a main center for Salafi jihadism on the continent. Spanish intelligence believes that fully half the 100 Salafist mosques operating in Spain are located in Catalonia.
Police say the operation to dismantle the cell marks one of the most important victories to date in the fight against Islamic terrorism in Catalonia, home to 465,000 Muslims, who account for more than 6% of the total Catalan population of 7.5 million. The cell, known as the Islamic Brotherhood for the Preaching of Jihad, was broken up on April the 8th when more than 350 police officers conducted 7 raids in 5 Catalan municipalities. According to police, the cell's primary objective was to show that terrorist attacks such as those perpetrated by the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria could be carried out in the West.
Prosecutors alleged that, among other plots, the group was planning to kidnap a random member of the public, dress their victim in an orange jumpsuit, and then film him or her being beheaded. The group also allegedly planned to kidnap for ransom the female branch manager of Bank Sabadell, a local Catalan bank, as a way to finance their terrorist activities. Apparently, the beheading was intended to induce the bank to pay the ransom. The suspects are 10 men and 1 woman, all between the ages of 17 and 45. 5 of the suspects are Spanish citizens. 5 are from Morocco and 1 from Paraguay.
Much of Catalonia's problem with radical Islam is self-inflicted. Muslim mass immigration has been a key component of the Catalan independence movement for many decades. In an effort to promote Catalan nationalism and the Catalan language, Catalonian pro-independence parties have deliberately promoted immigration from Muslim countries for more than 3 decades, in the belief that these immigrants, unlike those from Latin America, would learn the Catalan language rather than speak Spanish.
But many of those immigrants are attached to Salafism, a radically anti-Western ideology that seeks to impose Islamic Sharia law in Catalonia and other parts of Europe. In an ominous sign for the future of Catalonia, Salafi preachers who categorically reject democracy because it is a form of government designed by man rather than by Allah are calling on Muslims who are eligible to vote to support Catalan separatist parties as a means firmly to establish Islamism in Catalonia.
Abdel Wahab Houzi, a Salafi jihadist preacher in the Catalan city of Lleida, has declared, Muslims should vote for pro-independence parties, as they need our votes. But what they do not know is that once they allow us to vote, we will all vote for Islamic parties because we do not believe in left and right. This will make us win local councils, and as we begin to accumulate power in the Catalan autonomous region, Islam will begin to be implemented.
That sounds like something that's going on somewhere else.
That happened in Lebanon.
It's happening here.
It is happening here.
This article from the NRB says, this week the Senate has been debating the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act, which would give Congress an opportunity to weigh in for or against any deal the executive branch reaches with Iran over its nuclear program. Among the numerous amendments that may potentially be considered by the Senate are some that would condition the success of an agreement on the release of U.S. citizens who have been imprisoned by Iran for years. NRB urged this week that the final legislation require the release and safe return of these Americans, including Pastor Saeed Abdini.
In a January meeting in Idaho, President Obama told Pastor Abedini's wife, Nagme, that securing his freedom was a top priority. Unfortunately, this week, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest indicated the president would veto the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act if a requirement for the release of American Saeed Abedini, Amir Hekmati, and Jason Raziani were included.
Quite frankly, said Dr. Jerry A. Johnson, President and CEO of NRB, I am confounded that Pastor Saeed Abdini and other U.S. citizens unjustly imprisoned by the Iranian regime have not already been set free. At one time, the securing of Pastor Abedini's release was top priority to the Obama administration. Now it is subject to a presidential veto threat if included in this Iran bill. This is shocking, Dr. Johnson concluded by urging senators to make sure the U.S. does not leave these American citizens behind in its negotiations with Tehran.
So it appears to me that we need to contact our national senators as well, who represent each state, and tell them, make this a part of the deal. Everybody knows in Christian circles who Pastor Saeed Abedini is. One of the guys, I'm not familiar with all those names, but I do know the third name on there. He's actually a journalist who has been held for 2 or 3 years over there now, and no charges lodged, no nothing.
Right.
And they just, you know what? If it was your loved one that was being held, you would want them
released.
United we stand, divided we fall.
That's right.
And we have to make our voices heard. It's our responsibility.
It is.
And this next article comes to us from the Times of Israel. An Israeli-led rescue team pulled a Nepalese woman out of the rubble of a collapsed hotel in the capital, Kathmandu, on Thursday, 5 days after a massive earthquake leveled much of the city, killing some 6,000 people. Workers from the Israeli group IsraAid, along with local Nepalese soldiers and a team of experts from France and Norway, worked into the night for 10 hours to pull Krishna Devi Kata, 24, to safety. Katka had been stuck underneath a collapsed hotel alongside 3 bodies and could only breathe due to an air pocket that formed alongside her, IsraAid said in a statement.
Well, she was then hospitalized in the Israeli field hospital. It's nothing short of a miracle, said IsraAid's Yotam Polizer. It was hard to believe that anyone could have survived for that long. IsraAid director Zakar Zahavi said when the young woman was finally extracted and carried away to a waiting ambulance, it was to the great relief of the large crowd that had gathered, bringing hope that others may yet be alive.
Nepalese soldiers and the huge team of experts who had worked on the rescue cheered and clapped as Katka, a rare survivor, was carried away by stretcher. She was injured, but she was conscious and talking, a Nepal Army major told an AFP reporter at the scene. It is though she has been born again, he said. As the ambulance sped away, the team returned to the building as signs of a potential second survivor were felt, Zahavi said.
It was a second such rescue in the day. A 15-year-old, Pemba Tamang, was extracted from the rubble of another hotel just streets away by U.S. and Nepalese rescuers earlier in the day. The teenager, who is under observation at the Israeli field hospital, told the AFP, "I never thought I would make it out alive." Sadly, the recovery of another teenager's body from the same ruins only minutes later underlined how the prospect of finding further survivors of the quake are becoming more remote.
15-year-old Pemba, who worked at the guest house as a bellboy, said he'd been eating lunch next to reception when the ground started shaking. "I tried to run. Something fell on my head and I lost consciousness. I've no idea for how long," he said. "When I came to, I was trapped under the debris and there was total darkness. I heard other people's voices screaming out for help around me, but I felt helpless." Asked if he had anything to eat while he was trapped, Pemba said he had come across a jar of ghee, clarified butter, in the dark. "I don't know where it came from," he added.
Libby Weiss, a spokeswoman at the Israeli field hospital, said Pemba was doing remarkably well, confirming he did not have any major injuries. He was under the rubble for 120 hours, and it's certainly the longest we've heard of anyone being under the rubble and surviving, she told AFP. "I don't have any logical explanation. It's miraculous. It's a wonderful thing to see in all this destruction."
Over 250 doctors and rescue personnel were a part of an IDF delegation that landed Tuesday in the Nepalese capital of Kathmandu. Israel's field hospital in Nepal began operating Wednesday morning with staff treating nearly 100 patients and delivering their first baby, a boy, on the first day, an IDF spokesperson said. Saturday's 7.8 magnitude earthquake devastated large swaths of the mountainous country of Nepal, killing some 6,000 and leaving thousands more wounded and tens of thousands seeking shelter and food. Nepalese officials said the death toll could eventually soar to 10,000.
You know what's interesting about your article, ladies? I watch the news a lot, especially with this frog in my throat, and not once have I heard the story behind the Israeli field hospital.
Well, you know, there's people going from all countries to help.
There are lots.
But Israel always has field hospitals on the ground. And, I mean, they are operating hospitals. It's like MASH, the show we used to love.
That's right. They do everything.
Are you picking up this next one?
Yeah, this comes from AFP. Israel allowed 14,000 tons of building material into war-devastated Gaza on Wednesday. The Defense Ministry said of the largest single shipment since a July-August conflict ended the blockaded territory. Kogat the coordinating body for Israeli government policy in Palestine, told AFP that some 354 trucks passed through the Karim Shalom goods crossing in the southern Gaza Strip carrying construction materials, without elaborating.
Under Israel's 8-year blockade of Gaza, the entry of cement and iron has mostly been banned, with the Jewish state fearing such materials could be used by Palestinian militants to make weapons and build attack tunnels, which we saw during the conflict last summer.
Yep.
But the international community has warned that another conflict could be looming without serious reconstruction of the coastal territory, where that summer war between Israel and Hamas destroyed or damaged more than 100,000 homes during the 50-day conflict. That's kind of what happens when perpetrators hide amongst the civilians.
That's right. The United Nations says that 100,000 Gaza residents are still homeless since the last summer's war, which killed about 2,200 Palestinians and 73 people on the Israeli side. Militant groups in Gaza under the de facto ruler of the Islamist movement Hamas fired thousands of rockets at Israel in the conflict and have vowed to rearm.
You want to be fired up about something? This next article ought to do it for you.
Oh, yes.
So this article comes to us from the Daily Mail over in the United Kingdom. Children as young as 3 years old are being asked to sign a contract pledging not to use transphobic language at school. The pledge is contained in a homeschool agreement which all children must sign before they start at Turnham Primary School in September. The infants must also promise to refrain from using homophobic and racist phrases and to be tolerant of people with different sexual orientations and lifestyles. Each child must print their name and provide a signature to confirm that they understand their responsibilities while attending the school. The contract does not say what will happen to pupils who disobey the clauses.
Yesterday, one mother said, "My son is 3. Yet he's meant to pledge not to use transphobic language. How am I meant to explain it to my 3-year-old that he must sign on a dotted line not to do something which he's not even aware exists when he can barely hold a crayon?" This just fills me with dread about what sort of politically correct tick box bureaucracy runs this school.
The controversy comes in the wake of the coalition's British Values Drive, which requires all schools to teach tolerance of other faiths and lifestyles. It was introduced last year in response to the Trojan horse scandal, which saw schools in Birmingham allegedly infiltrated by Muslim hardliners hoping to impose an Islamic agenda.
But since then, schools have complained they have been penalized by Ofsted for failing to meet the criteria. 2 Christian schools in the Northeast said pupils were asked inappropriate questions on sex and race and branded intolerant when they gave the wrong answers. One 10-year-old girl was left in tears after inspectors allegedly asked her whether she felt trapped in someone else's body. Once again, the mother country leads the way down to Avernus.
Are you impressed?
I am impressed, but I'm so delighted at the job you two are doing, and I hope the people at home are appreciative of what you have been getting.
Well, you know what? Our viewers love the truth.
They do.
That's what I know, and it's such an honor to be at GLC and to be able to bring truth. We love you so much. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
We will
Shalom.
see you on Monday.